topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely...
Wow.
The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Are you ready to take a journey? Let's connect with the healers of the world. It's that time. It's time for the Language of Healing on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Now here's your host, Emotional Wisdom Training Specialist Nicole Fortin.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today on the Language of Healing. Today we have a great show, as always, and our theme is around harmony is a lifestyle. So I want you to just take a moment and settle in to your body. Feel your sit bones, have your spine lengthen, and just take a deep breath in and let it out slowly and gently. And I just want to bring to your attention or food for thought today is, what does harmony mean to you? What does harmony mean to you? And harmony to me means it's more of a state to me, like of balance and resonance, this cohesive togetherness, like a big orchestra playing this magnificent song that's all harmonious and powerful and gentle, and it's got all of the mixes. It reminds me as well of the Tai Chi, which is the symbol you might have seen, the white and the black circle with the dots in the middle. So that in traditional Chinese medicine we use as a symbol of balancing yin and yang, and that's what it ultimately comes down to, is finding the balance where they're working together, they're mutually dependent on each other, reliant, and they support each other's growth and also control each other. So there's not excesses or deficiencies. They're very harmonious and balanced. And from that, there's this great sense of peace that comes with it. And peace, not in the world peace sense, like the very superficial, but peace in the way that it's this total stillness and comfort in your body and in relation to your environment. So we're looking today at external environments, internal environments, how we can blend them together, what it really means to be in community, and having that full ecosystem approach where there's all these moving parts that have to come together to create the whole. And what does that really mean? It is a lifestyle. It's not a one and done. It's not you go into some, see some practitioner or, go to your doctor and it's all fixed. This is something that you need to bring back into your everyday and incorporate that into your life to find that state of balance and harmony and peace. And today I'm very excited because our guest is a good friend of mine, known her for many years. We actually trained together for traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture training. So let's welcome our guest, Dr. Rose Galikas. She is a doctor of acupuncture, registered acupuncturist, and Bachelor of Kinesiology. Hi, Rose.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, I just thought this conversation is right up your alley, and I wanted to, just open the floor to that. So maybe tell us a little bit about what you're up to today, or not today, but these days, and how this works in your life and with your patients.
Yeah, so a year and a half ago, I opened up a clinic called the Way Holistic Collective. And this concept of harmony as a lifestyle, or this connection to balance, was, a huge part of the foundation of opening up this space. And I know that it's a term that people almost see as a destination. I can't wait to be balanced. I can't wait to be in harmony. And I just really over these past years of practicing, and then now opening up the clinic and, just connecting with a lot more people, I really realized, harmony, it's not just like what we attain to be. We attain to be harmonious, or we attain to be peaceful. It's actually a lifestyle. So I kind of really have been focusing that. It's been a huge part of the message I'm trying to get out there. I would say for sure, this past January on, just, moving through what's been going on in the world even, and understanding that there's so many moving parts, but to have harmony, you have to have it in all areas of your life. So not only what you're getting when you come for a treatment, so when you come to see someone like you or I, but also what you're doing at home, how you're connecting with nature, relating with the season that we're in, what you're eating, all these different factors. And so I think that harmony as a lifestyle, and really attaining balance in the system, is something that is hard work and it always changes. And sometimes balance is 80-20, and sometimes it's 50-50, and sometimes it's 60-40. So it's a really hard concept to be a consistent, because it's always changing as you change. And so I love how you were saying for you what harmony was, like this orchestra. And I love that, because I really find that harmony is all these moving parts. So all of these instruments and, all of these things coming into play to create this level of peace and this level of beauty. And I think that there's many ways to attain that, and I think that there's many aspects, and it's really personal too, which I find super beautiful, because you also get to be really unique in it. You get to show yourself, and speak your own truth or authenticity within that space of harmony too. So it can become really creative as well, which I completely love too.
Yeah, because we're always moving and evolving. It reminds
Mhm.
me when we were in school studying, and we have those little charts. It's essentially you want to get you don't want anything too excess or too deficient. You want this nice
Yeah.
even balance. And I posed the question of does balance even exist? Is it something that we even like? But I think yes, and it takes work, like you said. So it's not a destination. It's really how you meet every day and every moment. Do you meet it in that reactive kind of excessive way, or back
Mm.
down, or do you meet it? That might be a bit deeper, but I think given that the name of your clinic is The Way, which is based on, I believe, the Taoism
Mhm.
philosophies of the Tao, meaning the way, which means, for those of you who don't know, how to live. The whole name of the game is how to live in accordance with nature. So it's cohesiveness. So your body is changing with the season, changing with the weathers and the years. And yeah, so it's really the journey, the
Yeah, and
lifestyle. Yeah.
it's really about a resiliency,
Mm.
and adaptation. And I think that, sometimes being in harmony is hard, and sometimes it's really easy. When I named the clinic The Way, I just felt like it was so beautiful, because it speaks to everybody having their own story or their own journey. And I really wanted the idea of harmony to also be so unique to everybody. So when you come into the clinic, or when you come in for care, you get to be authentically you. And sometimes that's out of harmony and out of balance. And sometimes it's, perfectly balanced, being super preventative and just needing support. And I think that that's one thing that we all need. We all need support. We all need love. We all need compassion. And when we don't have that, that's when harmony, I find, really gets out of balance. And it's really so much harder to attain when we're not having that level of support from the community around us. And so I really loved, creating this clinic even during something as intense as a pandemic, because I've still been able to create community when everyone can't be around each other. And so that's been really powerful because, as you know, the way or the Tao is everything and nothing. So it is whatever you want it to be. And so sometimes it's everything and it's chaotic and it's insane. And sometimes it's nothing and it's peaceful and there's contentment. And sometimes it's those in the same day. Right. So I think that the concept of the way and it being this collective where people get to, really strive for this harmony is something that I'm truly really proud of, because I don't think we have a lot of outlets like that in the world. And I think to be able to, you know, um, have a place where you can go, but then also, other people you found like after the same truth, after the same understanding and want in life. I find like that's like there's potency in numbers too, right? And in a
Yeah.
community.
Yeah. I have this image of, like a blazing forest fire
Mhm.
that is like chaotic. Like that would be pretty non-harmonious, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
but it is because and then I love what you say about your, the space you've created that you can show up just as you are, whether that's like the raging forest fire or the calm cool waters. But the idea is even if you come in as that, out of control fire, there's the boundary and the community of like, the fire people that come in and put
Mhm.
the water out, like help tame it, balance it. I mean, in Chinese medicine, that's how we kind of regulate things a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you were talking about at the beginning, like that yin and yang symbol. We are both. And so just honoring both sides of your personality too, like I mean, that's really where we create a lot of harmony. And like we said, like we're connected to nature. And so I really find that, especially I think in North America, we're so secular. Like we don't really connect anything to anything else other than our personal experience and our perspective. And I think that a lot of people, we are searching for more. We're searching for a deeper meaning in the things that we're doing, or an understanding of why our body acts a certain way in the spring versus in the fall versus in the summer. And I think this parallel of this connection to nature and floating with the seasons and floating with the world around us, I think only allows us to have a better harmony or a better balance as well, because we're not fighting it. And I think sometimes we wonder like, why don't I feel my best? Or why does the same things always happen to me? And I think it's met with a lot of resistance. And like we said, like there is this devotion to harmony or this hard work in it, but it also comes like with a lot of flow and ease based on just trusting ourselves and using that intuition as our guide as well. So when you look outside, like today in Calgary, it's actually really like moody and rainy and gloomy, so to feel that you may also feel that way, it makes sense. Instead of fighting it, like, oh, I should always be happy. It's Monday, it's a fresh start to the week. I should be productive. Like it's moody and it's rainy. So maybe you are too. And that's okay. Or you want to be more cozy, right? So maybe have warmer beverages today than you would when it was 32 last week. So I think that connection to nature and really like looking outside, oh my goodness, it's a full moon. I feel like I can pull an all-nighter. It's a new moon. I really just want to like, go to bed and sleep for 12 hours. And so, like understanding how we relate to the world around us, like, cosmically, but also just like stepping outside. I think that that is something that has been massively powerful to me, is, just really connecting with the world around me in a way that there's no judgment, and I'm just seeing it for what it is and absorbing the energy around me. It creates way more of a flow instead of a resistance, which I think, I mean, as we learned that, the balance schedule equal this, it's constantly more of like a rolling hill, those straight lines. So your questions were always good that way, because it's so much deeper than just like the scientific value of a chart, right? Like charts are really cute and they're neat, but they are not functional outside of theory.
Well, yeah, it's like learn just straight from the books, right? Because then you bring in the element of like we are living human like beings, we're constantly changing, our frequencies are in influencing like just as much of our day and our life as like the outside world. So you said something quite interesting when we were talking before we meeting today,
Mhm.
and how you've noticed that a lot of people are searching, for that balance or harmony in relation to, who they are, like where, or you said something about that, like where they want to go,
Mhm.
what they want to do, what they want to be. And it's like, how can you show up more as yourself within all the dynamics of that? Because, and then I'm also reminded, sorry, not to tangent, but it's all like
Mhm. Mhm.
connected. And in emotional wisdom training, we have this principle that's like awareness with acceptance creates an awakening. So if you're aware that is, moody skies, and you're in resistance of, like, I don't know if this is a good example, because
Mhm.
but forcing a smile, like, is that a natural flow, like that you're showing up as like full sunshine, when the natural energies are maybe saying like, oh, just take it easy today, have some tea, it's okay to be kind of, more in the neutral zone. So yeah, so what are you, maybe like, what are your tips or pointers when you're meeting someone who's wanting to explore more of this, like how they can be more harmonious with their life?
Yeah, I think that going through anything radical, whether that be something in your personal life, whether that be a global pandemic, whether that be, something happening to your health, I think it is a fire starter to understand where you're going wrong and how to bring yourself into a place where like you can find peace and joy and contentment and harmony no matter what's going on. And so I almost feel like that's the revolution right now for a lot of people, where they're like, okay, at the end of the day, what is the life I want to live? What are my desires? Um, how can I speak my truth? How can I authentically be me and find joy and peace and harmony in all that I do? And I feel like that is, a very foundation of my practice. Is I love what you said about that awareness, because I really do believe that knowledge is power, and knowing more about your body. So knowing and understanding like, oh my goodness, like I couldn't sleep that night, but oh, it was a full moon. Having that understanding of the world around us, I think, can help you understand what's going on in your system. When we know what's going on in our system, it's so much easier to accept it instead of feeling like your body is working against you instead of working with you. And so I think, yeah, the number one thing I believe is really just connecting back to nature. So pay attention to the things around you. I think that for me, I grew up going to the mountains. We're in Calgary, Alberta, so we're like an hour away from, I believe, like the mecca of the world of the mountains. Like we're just so lucky here. There's so much energy. There's so much vibrancy in the mountains. They are so magical, and I grew up doing that all the time. We would hike, we would cross country ski, we'd camp. And then I thought, like, why would my parents do that to me? And why can't I hang out with my friends on the weekend? And then going into high school and going into my 20s, I almost like pushed nature away. I pushed away being outside. I wanted to be in the city all the time. I was going to school, I was working, all these different things. And I lost that connection. And I found that I, never had these hobbies that brought me joy. I would just go to school, then work, then carry on. And I was, reaching these goals that I thought were things I wanted to do, but like I wasn't really happy. I wasn't really finding this like pure expression of myself. And so, I mean, luckily by, falling in the path of this medicine, like you're forced to face a lot of things you're not facing. So you go to school for 4 years, you think you're going to be this awesome practitioner, but you just go through therapy for 4 years, essentially.
Yeah, I know, like
Yeah.
internal medicine, you're like, oh my God. Like,
Yeah. You're like,
yeah,
oh, so I didn't know that I am going through therapy.
yeah.
So you find all these things where you've been pushing away or, really, getting away from that are so pure and that are so beautiful to your growth and how you feel the best that you can and possibly feel. And then, I kind of came through to my 30s, and I just realized I had the best childhood. Like we cooked all of our food from scratch. Like, I was really connected to what we were eating, why we were eating it, being in the woods all the time and in the mountains. And so, once hit my 30s, like, so for the last 5 years, like, that is like this massive part of who I am now. And it always was, but I lost my harmony. I lost my balance. I was so focused on all these other things and goal setting and attaining these certain things that I forgot what really matters. And that was me, my harmony, and like this idea of really finding my path with nature. And so I think mine is, and we're so lucky here. We just get to go to the mountains whenever we want. You can go out every day if you want. And I was just camping all weekend, it's just, there's something so divine about that connection. But even for, someone who lives in the city and they don't have the luxury that we have here, take off your shoes and go outside and put your feet on the ground. Like, we don't even often do that, especially if you live somewhere where it's cold. Like, you are wearing shoes, you're wearing layers, like, you're actually never getting to get that like authentic level of just grounding. And so there's been tons of articles now just about grounding, like where, a lot of places in Japan, they have parks where people go at lunch and they just sit underneath trees. And that is like so therapeutic for their health. So I think that, if we talk about little things to add harmony in our life, you have a crazy day at work, go in your backyard and take off your shoes and just stand in the grass. I think that alone can be super powerful. And then another big one for me always is water. And so I think, we're made of 70% water. So if we think about that connection to everything around us and that fluidness, that flow, if you are hydrated, if you're drinking enough water, you're filling that tank filled with yin, with water. And so most of our day is really yang in nature. So we're constantly, this creative brain, analytical brain going, doing our jobs, having conversation. And then really where we drop into yin is when we sleep. It's those, delta brain waves, but more so we know is when you have treatments, you drop into theta. So that can be really more yin based. But I think to, have this balance in day to day, everything is really yang. So when we bring yin in, so when we even just bring drinking water in, even that like 2 liters of water a day, like platform, that's when you notice way more harmony too. I'll even hear people say to me, I had 2 cups of coffee today, no water, and I feel frustrated. Like I feel like I'm going a million miles a minute. It's like, drink water. Like, even creating that little bit of harmony in our actions and these little things we do, and the bigger concept being our life and our happiness and our joy and our peace. But even just like looking at the things that we're doing, okay, I was on the computer all day. What would be the balance to being on the computer all day? Not being on the computer all day, closing my eyes, having to be less
Stretching.
engaged,
Yeah.
stretching, it's like, even though those little things I feel like are everything. And a big thing for me over this past year has really been saying to people, like, what can you do 5 minutes a day that creates more mindfulness for you? And so if you think about something like even just water and standing in soil or putting your feet in water, like being able to go to a creek, or, there's tons of city parks, or again, being able to go to the mountains and putting your feet in like glacier cold water, like that is like, it speaks for itself. I feel like we have these concepts that we try to explain, but like the deep connection to having that feeling, I think is, I think we've lost sight of it a lot, and we don't talk about it a lot in Western, especially North America. I find it's very like, go to work, do this, go to bed. And we've lost a lot of connection to who we are and what can really bring us peace. And I often say for everybody, it's different, sometimes peace may be, journaling and getting everything you need out on paper so it gets out of your body. For other people, it's a run. And sometimes those are different in that day. As we've kind of been saying, harmony as a lifestyle is, I think, just such a important statement because that lifestyle is unique to you. And same thing with the way. The way is your journey. So your journey and the season of your life will be different than other seasons that need different things from you.
Mm-hmm. And on the theme of traditional Chinese medicine, I found that really what it's there for is to remind us, of how to
So true.
rectify itself, right? It's like a self correction, and like you say, you were this part of nature. You grew up with that. That was your formative years, and then to disassociate from it for a little bit, but then to come back into it, it's like the remembering of that. Or when you put your feet on the ground, it's like this visceral cellular remembering that there isn't necessarily words to it. I agree with you. And that's the Tao, that's the way, nothing and everything. And the minute you put a word to it, it limits it, it condenses it. But nature, and I mean our just everything about us is so spacious and expansive, and allowing ourselves to grow and heal in that. I don't know if you find this, but when working with someone who's having a difficult recovery, like say after a surgery or even like a heartbreak, this the recovery time around that can be a little bit what's the word, like disheartening, but disappointing. It's like, why aren't I better yet? Why do I do all these things? And I know my body's doing what it needs to, but it's just a little bit slow. And there's that resistance, but yeah, with the awareness, just more information. It's like, oh, actually my body is like essentially like wound healing, growing another limb almost, is pretty amazing. And things take time, right? Like a season, a year. These are all big cycles that, I don't know, I'm just thinking of being easy on ourselves and not being so hard.
Absolutely.
Right?
I think that when we say something like, oh, there's no diets, it's a way of life that you eat, that can also feel daunting, right? Because people want a quick fix,
Yeah.
And so I always, for a long time, I've always said to, people that come and see me, like, what is it that you wish to have, after all of this, after what we're doing? And, I'd say 90% of the time people still say, I want to be happy. And I really feel that what I strive to support people through is not happiness, but peace. And I think that you can still be peaceful and be heartbroken. You can still be peaceful and have like massive excitement and joy. But I think like if we try to always find peace in our lives through these little tools, whether it be water, stretching, deep breathing, just like taking big, deep belly breaths, connecting with nature, you find like this harmony, connection to peace that it feels really, really resilient. Like you feel like you can get through anything, and I think that, striving towards happiness, like happiness, I really feel is like a state. And so I think that when we can have peace in our life, that a container, like in Buddhist philosophy, very different from what I grew up thinking is like emptiness. And so, I really thought emptiness meant we don't have anything, and that is sadness. And really, like this Buddhist philosophy of emptiness is actually an empty room to fill up with nothing else in it that's taking away from the space that you want to put in. And so I always come back to that, emptiness and peace actually allows for us to create anything that we want. And so that attainment of almost like that emptiness or that peace, I think is, oh my goodness, it changes all of the time. You can be feeling all the peace when you leave and then you get in your car and someone cuts you off or there's traffic and then it like goes out the window. But, then you're like, okay, how can I get back to it? So I think that that's always what I've seen as, more of a deeper foundation than something like happiness, which changes so often, like we're saying, an accident or heartbreak, like those things aren't mutually exclusive. You can still have centeredness and harmony and still be heartbroken. And I think sometimes when we think, oh, I want to be happy again, it means that we're forgetting about things that were a loss of someone that we love, or an honoring of a certain trauma in our life, that we think that, oh, when I become happy, that means I forget about it. And I really feel like that's not what it is at all. And I think that that's another big piece into feeling that we're creating this harmony, or this harmony being a lifestyle, is that we're always changing and evolving, and every part of our experience matters.
Hmm. Yeah, it makes up everything that we are.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, because I think we tend to do, okay, putting your feet in water, feet on the ground, heading out in nature. These are all great things. We're journaling, but there's other vices, other things, coping mechanisms that we'll take on to try to bring some balance to the
Mhm.
game, right? Um, so retraining, or just having an awareness, like, what am I doing that for? What else could I might be able to do that would maybe support me better, give me that vitality or that strength and resiliency back.
Mhm.
And but it's like the bypassing. It's like, okay, I had this traumatic experience, or I have this history, like, or not history, but just something that's traumatic. And instead of just pushing it away, because that's
Mhm.
like resistance to it. And then, okay, if only when this happens, I'll be happy. But there's like a huge gap there, and I just see it like harmony is like blending it together. It's like the yin and the
Yeah,
yang, the tai chi, and really being okay to own it, encompass it. It doesn't mean that it's forever either, right? Like, we know things are always moving and changing, and this is temporary.
absolutely. The only constant is there is no constant. I
Right.
always say to myself, I'm like, oh, okay, so the feeling that you feel right now, and whether that be like bliss or like accomplishment, like that's going to change, because
Right.
you're going to also go on to something else and be like, oh, well, that was miserable. Oh my goodness, I thought that I had that covered, and I really don't. And then something else is going to happen, right? So I think like understanding, I think like the analogy of, diets or food, I think a lot of people can relate to, of, when someone says like, it's not about diets, it's about changing how you view food. And I think I love the concept of food, because we have to eat every day, so it affects everybody. And so I think that that idea of when people are like, no, like when I think about what I'm putting into my body, that is who I am. And we see it more now, where people are eating based on a cause, right? Or people are in many different factors, whether and how people are getting their food, and they're eating with a lot of, politically infused, revolutions. And so I think that it's really interesting, even just that alone, where like you start to see that like what you're putting into your body is a lifestyle based on all the factors. And I think that that can be really powerful, because I think it's just really important to see that everything around us contributes to who we are, And when we say, yeah, that harmony is a lifestyle, I think that it's, what we're eating, the thoughts that we're telling ourselves, it's the care that we're receiving, it is our relationships around us. It's really and truly everything. And I think that, you can kind of see almost like the hierarchy, like the square, that hierarchy like often changes. And so what is our priority for these things? And, what's at the bottom? Sometimes it flips. And I think that you can start to see like you're putting so much effort into one area of your life. I'll just use me. I open up a clinic, and that's the only thing I think about for like a year. And then I'm like, oh my goodness, like I also have like my partner at home. Oh my goodness, I also have my family. Oh, I also have my friends. There's also this crazy situation happening in the world. And it's like each time when I notice one start to go to the bottom, I'm like, hey, that needs a little bit more love. This needs a little bit more
Mhm.
love. And I think that the awareness around that and where you need to put your attention, I think is really fluid as well.
Totally. It's like climbing a mountain, like, you go up, you go down, you go up, down. That's, I think that with these little triangles of where our
Yeah.
priorities lay do flip, and you just keep adding layer by layer, or,
Mhm.
more information every time you go over or through it. Yeah. Or through it, going through the motions.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. And I always love that analogy of a mountain as well, because,
Mhm.
this concept can be overwhelming because it requires every part of your life. And when we say something is a lifestyle, it requires everything around you to flow with that. And I think the concept of the mountain is so powerful because when you're walking up a mountain, you hike a lot and so do I. You're never like is thinking to yourself, "Oh, look how far I've come," until you turn around. Like you're just sweating. This is hard.
Why am
Stopping
I
for
doing
water
this today?
breaks. Why
What
am
am
I?
I here? Yeah. Yeah.
And then you get
This
like
is a mistake.
halfway or close, totally close to the top, and you look back and you're like, we were down there. Like it is like that never is lost on me. Like every time I hike and every time I'm doing that action, I still have that like childlike awe of my accomplishments and like how far you can get in relatively a short amount of time. So
Well,
like
when things
also that.
align, like when all of your values are aligned, like, all aspects, your food, that's what you value. You're putting it into your body that you value. Your relationships are things that you surround yourself that support you. It's also something that you value, and doing these activities, making time for the nature or the remembering, the regrounding. And then things do happen very quickly. Before we know it, we are up that mountain. It's like,
Mhm.
whoa, isn't that, yeah, there's that reverence. I know. I love that feeling too of
Love that feeling.
it's like,
That's
whoa, I
what.
did it.
Yeah, I think that's what keeps I mean, for me anyway, there's like that adrenaline push in it that keeps me back forever. And I never lose my awe. Like I never ever lose my awe of accomplishment when it comes to doing harder things, or being in nature, like having the gift of being in nature. So I think even just like that connection, I think it's so important to have things around you that always give you like a childlike sense of awe. When you see a
Mhm.
kid like eat something yummy for the first time and their face is like mind blown, I think tapping into those things are just so powerful. I know some people do that through sport, right? Some people, I know a lot of people connected to like martial arts or kickboxing because there's always, you can see this little bit of accomplishment through a lot of things like that, biking, yoga, right? I think,
Mhm.
there's a lot of
Even like
stuff with
home
movement.
renovations.
Oh my goodness, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, even
Yes.
gardening, like, right now is, like, I'm
Gardening.
seeing my
Yes.
plants every day.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and I think, like,
Totally.
it's so easy for, like, natural health practitioners to only say all the things that are good for us, but I'm also, like, a huge advocate of, like, the 80-20 life. Like, sometimes you will have a burger and fries, and it's, like, the best decision you ever made. So I think
Mhm.
that like often there is this like we have to be on it all the time, and I've done so much research and read lots of journal articles about doing something 100% of the time or doing something 80% of the time and actually getting better results doing stuff 80% of the time. So I often will
Right.
say to people that are coming in, like, do this, like the stuff that I'm asking you if we're trying to get rid of bad bacteria or dampness, stay away from gluten, dairy, and sugar 6 days a week for me. And then one day out of the week at the beginning, like eat whatever you want. And then eventually you get to a point where you don't want that bad day because it makes you feel so bad. But our idea and concept of like that we're not stripped of everything or that we have to change everything tomorrow, I think is also like very like innate, like it's something that is like very of a human experience. So I think also like that, 80-20 of sometimes just, enjoying yourself and not worrying about all the things that you're meant to do to create harmony is harmony.
Right, right, right. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
all part of it,
It's
It's like,
all
don't,
part of it.
it's like just more acceptance around it. And then you
Yeah.
can keep moving forward. Yeah.
Yes.
And not getting so
Always.
stuck in it, right? Because like
Yeah.
stuck in stagnation obviously creates the majority of disease, really in a very basic way, right?
Yeah. Or, self talk is like a big thing, right? Especially with a lot of
Mhm.
your training. We can get caught in, we have some really good days and we're speaking really well to ourselves. And then something happens and we just go back to zero. And it's like, well, what's the point of trying again?
Yeah.
Like that in and of itself is still that lifestyle of creating more balance into your life, because you will inevitably have days that don't feel as good as other days. And so it's about not giving up and seeing, I love the concept of it being like part of your life and what you're creating, as opposed to like attaining a certain goal, right? I'm never, ever going to tell myself that I'm not worthy. I mean, that's not realistic,
Well,
So like,
and it's like the child, it's like when you said being childlike and being like really playing with life versus
mhm.
childish, like catching ourselves in that childish behavior. Like,
Yeah, I like
I am
that.
not good enough. I'm not worthy. And I know those are real beliefs. Like these
Mhm.
are very common structures that we do, but recognizing that that's, it's not true either. It's like, what else might it open up for you,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Yeah. Mhm. So what else does the way do? We haven't heard, much about
Yeah.
what you're
So,
offering there.
yeah, so again, like the concept or the foundation really is this space that kind of our overall message is like a sanctuary for you to follow your path. And so, what I have here is there's 4 Chinese medicine doctors and practitioners of acupuncture. So, there's myself. And 2 of us are really like more of the traditional style, and so kind of how we were taught and how we learned. Very much like we do diagnosis, we give you tons of advice, we do cupping, ear seeds, send you home with moxibustion, herbs, do acupuncture that day. And then I have 2 other practitioners. One does cosmetic style. So it's really a newer advancement in the medicine, but it's so beautiful. So she does cosmetic style. So really working on like the youthful appearance of her face. Lines, wrinkles, skincare, like so lots of skin conditions. She's an RMT background, so really kind of gets into the buccal massage, so like internal TMJ. And then another one of the practitioners really focuses on tuning forks, so more of the acutonics. She's incredible, also one of our teachers, and she teaches acutonics all around the world. So really happy to have like a lot of this medicine, but really like different ways of using it in the space, which is beautiful. And then massage therapy. I have intuitive counseling, breath work, Bowen, cranial sacral, Akashic readings, and hypnosis. So, kind of tapping into all layers, which was always something that I thought would be just so perfect for a space where you may come for even a maybe more like scientific diagnostic method with me, but then also if I see that somebody like Jacqueline, who does our hypnosis intuitive counseling or past life regression, could be part of your healing process, and we always like refer out. So I love the space in that idea, because we are this like collective together. So sometimes if I'm like, oh my goodness, like you're really sensitive to the needles, but I feel like you need a reset, go do acutonics. So I think that there's like this really beautiful, again, like harmony and flow in the space of like just making sure that you're coming in here following your path, and you get all the care that you need from every different angle.
Hmm. Yeah, whatever's best suited for you. Yes,
Absolutely.
I love your space. I mean, it's gorgeous. And I'm even noticing your wall behind you. As you're
Yeah.
saying, we were talking about how you can bring in more of these elements of balance and harmony and kind of neutralize maybe some more like intense or difficult things. But, putting in some elements like this wood in a
Hmm.
space,
Hmm.
it's like if you are in the city and you don't have nature, you're not like surrounded by a forest when you step outside your door, having a feature of the wood or maybe a little water feature.
Of course, or buy plants.
How yes, plants.
That
Yes.
change. I never had plants before, and then in my house now, we have all of these plants, and everyone that comes in, like they walk in and take a deep breath.
Mm.
Like
Oh, I
you
love
can like,
that. Yeah.
yeah, it's like it's so cool to see, even just having greenery, just having plants around, how that can like change this feeling of a space too, right? Like I think that that also is really unique, like how you're setting up your space or how your place looks.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
And you have some products and things like
I
local
do, yeah.
artisans and
Yeah, so I have some, yeah, just local brands, which I think is, I mean, so important right now is to support all our local communities. And um, I have made a lot of stuff too. Some gua sha and cupping packages for the face and for the body, some hydrosil face spray, so like just really hydrating. And then we also have eye masks. We have one of the practitioners that does a cosmetic acupuncture. She actually makes all of her own oil. So we sell that here. We have like kind of a rotating level of artists that put their work up. Same thing with macrame, which you can buy as well when you're here. We also do have like a salve, almost like a salve lotion that you can get from a local producer, soap. Yeah, we've just really been trying to candles now we just got as well. And then I've made like a whole bunch of swag for the way. So just
Mhm.
swag that you can wear in nature, swag that you can go and do stuff with as part of your lifestyle. So t-shirts and hoodies. And my next idea is to get like really amazing kimono. So just like
Yes.
outsourcing and yeah, just
Yeah.
getting so like you feel like, we're tapping into what I believe is a lifestyle, right? One of the
Mhm.
other Chinese medicine doctor, Stephanie here, she also did ear seeds packages so that you can go home and still get the benefits of auricular acupuncture. So we have like just a little bit of everything that keeps creating this like, outside of getting a treatment here, how can you still experience not only Chinese medicine, but harmony outside of the clinic, which I think is so important. And so we have kind of
Mhm.
all those little like take home things where you can get some love at home. And also, we've been doing breath work and movement through our IGTV. So pretty much every Saturday or Sunday of the month, we have one of the practitioners just giving care that you can just do at home as well, which was a huge thing for me. Oh, and one more thing,
Mhm.
usually once a month I try to do, or once every 2 months we do, it's called By Design Day. So it's a donation day. So anyone that can't afford the care on a normal basis can come and just donate whatever money that they can or that they want to the practitioner that they're receiving care from too.
Mhm. Wow. So it sounds like a great place to come and explore the many ways that we can reach
Mhm.
harmony and what that means to
Yeah,
us. Maybe even just opening the conversation around
you bet.
what that means to each and every one of us. Yeah. I really appreciate you joining us today. So they can check you out and all these like amazing
Mhm.
practitioners and offerings that you have at thewayhc.com and same the way HC on Instagram.
Yes.
Yeah. And then your personal one is at smell the roses _11 and follow you. I
Yeah.
always love watching your stuff. You have like really cool, um, modern, it's like traditional medicine meets modern, I don't know, challenges,
Yeah,
right?
I always said to
Which,
myself, like, what is my role in like being a pioneer of this medicine? And really simply, I'm like, I just want to make it cool. I want it to not be
mhm,
so scary, and so
mhm,
foreign. I want it to feel like, oh wow, I didn't know that Chinese medicine that did that, or I didn't know that it could be, something that I could add into my life. So it's not like, oh my God, this is scary. I wanted it to be
right?
more accessible.
Yeah, I feel yeah, same wavelength. How
Yeah,
can we make it more metaphorical? Because it really just it does naturally fit into our life, and it's
it
just
does.
a language that we just need to learn and become more fluent in. And all
Absolutely.
right, very good. Our time is up. I'm sorry. We'll have to meet
So
again
great.
here
Yeah,
soon.
absolutely. Thanks
Have a
so much.
great day,
You
Rose.
too.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks to our listeners for tuning in today, tuning in live on Facebook and YouTube, and listening to us on the W4CY radio. And we'll leave you with the question: what will you take with you from this conversation that will support you for the rest of your life? See you next week.
Wow, what a show today, and the journey does not stop here. Come travel the world with Nicole every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time as together we become more fluent in the language of healing on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV. See you next week.